Hello, my dear students. My name is Поборознік. I am a teacher of English from Gymnasium 7 in Odessa, Ukraine. It is my pleasure to welcome you to my lesson. The objective of today's lesson is to learn about passive voice, when, why, and how to use it. Let's begin. As you know, there are two voices in English, active and passive. Let's start by reviewing some information about the active voice. What does the active voice mean? The active voice means that the subject of the sentence is doing the action. We call this subject the active subject. Please read the examples of the active voice sentences together with me. Students often use the internet. Teenagers usually send text messages to their friends. Children sometimes lose their mobile phones. Now, find the subject in each of these sentences. I'm sure you correctly identified that the subject in each sentence is the word students, the word teenagers, and the word children, because you know that the subject is always at the beginning of the sentence. The words use, send, and lose are verbs, and the words the internet, text messages, mobile phones are the objects in these sentences. Now let's talk about the passive voice. In a sentence with passive voice, we are reversing the order. The words the internet, text messages, mobile phones, which are objects in the active voice sentences, become subjects in the passive voice sentences. Each of these words start the passive voice sentence. So, the words the internet, text messages, mobile phones are now subjects in these sentences. The words is used, are sent, are lost are verbs, and the words by students, by teenagers, by children are now less important. We only use these words if we would like to specify the doer of the action. If we do not want to specify the doer of the action, then we can take these words out of these sentences. Please read the following sentences together with me. The internet is often used by students. Text messages are usually sent by teenagers. Mobile phones are sometimes lost by children. The passive voice is often used by native English speakers. It is a mistake to think that passive voice is only used in formal speech. It is also used informally. So, when should we use the passive voice? The passive voice is usually used when we are more interested in the action itself than the doer or the agent of the action. We use the passive voice to change the focus of the sentence. For example, active voice. I wash the window once a month. Passive voice. This window is washed once a month. If we want to mention the doer or the agent, we use the word by. For example, the floor is usually washed by the cleaner. So I'm sure you got the idea of the differences between the active and the passive structures. So now, let's analyze more carefully how to form the passive voice. First of all, you need to put the object of the verb at the beginning of the sentence. Second, you need to conjugate the verb to be in the same tense as the active sentence. And finally, you need to put the main verb of the sentence in the past participle form. Let's look at some examples. The postman delivers letters. Active voice. Letters are delivered by the postman. Passive voice. Below, you can see the table of passive structures. Present simple passive, past simple passive, present perfect passive, and modal verbs passive. As you remember, in the third slide of this lesson, I explained to you that in passive sentences, we reverse the order of the active voice sentences. So now, I invite you to practice reversing sentences from active voice into passive voice. Let's do it together. The first sentence is an active voice sentence, and it is in the present simple tense. She always tells the truth. The passive voice of the sentence in the present simple tense, the truth is always told by her. The next sentence is in the past simple tense. My grandfather built this house. The passive voice of this sentence, this house was built by my grandfather. The third sentence is in the present perfect simple, active voice. They have already built a new bridge. Passive voice of this sentence, in the present perfect, a new bridge has been already built. And finally, we have an example with the modal verb can. Kids can use mobile phones. The passive voice of the sentence. Mobile phones can be used by kids. Such verbs as ask, offer, pay, refuse, send, show, teach, tell usually have two objects. That's why we can form two sentences in the passive voice. For example, we gave the police the information. The words the police and the information are two objects in this sentence. So it's possible to form two passive voice sentences. The police were given the information and the information was given to the police. I hope this lesson helped you understand when, why, and how to transform a sentence from active voice to passive voice. To help you practice what we learned today, let's transform these sentences from active voice to passive voice. For example, the first sentence is an active voice. They make this cheese from fresh milk. And now, let's transform it into passive voice. This cheese is made from fresh milk. Please use the rest of these sentences to practice on your own. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I am sure you will try to use the passive voice more often than before. Thank you for your attention. Until next time, Lilia Поборознік.